Hi, welcome to another episode of Stage Diving with Scotty. My musical guest today is EJ Olson from the band '09. Is that how you
That's
say
right.
it?
Oh
All right,
nine.
cool. Groovy,
Yeah.
man. So so you're actually located in Oregon?
Yeah, we're from Portland. I currently live a few hours south of Portland. Um, but my bandmate Chancellor, he's up in Portland right now. Our producer's in Portland, so um, yeah, a lot of
Right.
back and forth for me.
Oh, okay, okay. You guys don't live too far from each other?
It's like a 2.5 hour drive from where I am.
Oh,
So um
that's still some time though.
yeah, it's made the last few months of this record we're finishing up very interesting, but uh, it's not too bad.
Well, then I noticed that for speaking, so you guys are. I saw that your guys' releases were primarily what 2019.
So we released 3 singles in 2019 and 2 singles in 2020.
Okay, that's what.
Um, yeah, and our whole thing is we feature a different singer on each song. We don't have a permanent front person, which is like kind of a crazy idea if you're like actually trying to establish something, but it kind of just started as a fun little project for us. We had a bunch of friends who were singers. Um, and we just said, you know what, let's just do a little bit of everything, and it's kind of grown to working with some really cool artists, and yeah, so we haven't released anything since October, and we're wrapping up full length right now, 12 songs. So
So are they going to include the ones you've already did, or are they all brand new songs?
yeah, so it'll be the 5 we've released, remixed, remastered, and then 7 new tracks with 7 different artists. So yeah, it's
Okay,
exciting, it's
so
daunting.
dude, okay, so that is okay. So I've never heard anything like this before, and I think that's a really cool, a very creative way to do something because it's.
I hear my name, distant voices take me to a place I hate. I see your shadow.
But I mean, the fact that you guys got like Matty Mullins and I think an American Idol person, right? Andrew Serino, or
Yeah, Andrew Serino. Yeah, I forget he was an American Idol briefly. Yeah, he's a good buddy. We've known him for years. Went to school with him back in the day.
so it was before American Idol.
Um, yeah, I've known him forever. But yeah, American Idol. I don't know. That was several years ago. I always forget about that. But
Feeling the pressure of this sustain as the blood rushes out my face. A poison that saturates my veins. Broken words of an old refrain. If all we know is what
yeah, and then Chris Ratzla from Fall Star, Millie Andress from Glacier Veins. They kick ass. Um, yeah, and the
I don't think I've checked them out yet. I'll check those
yeah,
out.
definitely. Yeah, Fall Star just put out a record actually in February, I want to say, or maybe early this month.
Yeah, it's
Um,
sick. That's a
yeah,
good
they're
one.
awesome. Yeah, the full length. It's kind of crazy because, like I said, we just sort of started this like Andrew is a good friend of ours, and we had a couple other buddies, Jamie Curry, Chris. And we just said, let's just do a little bit of, maybe we'll do like 3 songs each with them, and just sort of let's just see what happens. We just want to make some music that we like. We didn't really have any plan. Um, and then as it started taking shape, and we had a few different connections in the industry, we were able to reach out to some artists that we really liked that we wanted to work with. Matty Mullins, and um, coming up the record, we have Roy Rodriguez from Dayseeker, and
Oh, really?
yeah, Kellen Quinn is on the record. Um, Corey Brandon from Norma Jean.
Really? My
Cove
goodness.
Reber. If you guys remember Co, I know he's doing stuff again these days with Dead American, but yeah, he's
I
awesome.
haven't heard of that one.
I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. Um,
Probably.
There's several
a
more
lot.
that it's a lot to keep track of. My brain is mush right now. We are literally in the last week of mixing the record, and it's all a jumble in my brain right now. So
So, so then you said you have 7 more songs. So did you get 7 separate singers, or did you do any kind of duplicates with any of them?
No repeats.
Repeats, yeah.
You know, there are almost everyone on this record we want to do another song with. We would love to do more with, but for the first record, we just said we kind of committed to this model, for better or for worse, and we said let's just stick to it, man, and trek ahead. And the pandemic has been weird for everybody. Touring stopped. Musicians they're all sitting at home, right? So it was kind of a perfect storm for us. We were able to reach out to some of these guys who don't really have nearly as much going on as they normally would.
Yeah.
So, a lot of them, I think, were a little more agreeable to something like this, just given that they had time.
Yeah.
And so that worked out in our favor, that we were able to kind of take the next step. As everything ground to a halt last March, we were able to kind of take advantage of that and do something with it.
Yeah, I think most I think I said on the past couple of chats I've had is that it's been kind of sort of like a bittersweet thing, because as far as like someone creative like us and all the musicians around the world kind of thing, because in a way you kind of you have this time where you kind of just sit at home, preferably I guess, and you have no excuse not to create now.
Yeah.
You have to, it gives you an option to do that thing you wanted to do, or talk to that person, or hook up with that person you want to hook up with, that sings or plays guitar or whatever. It kind of in a way sort of pushed me to do this in a way.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad, because it's been opening a lot of opportunities to talk with people like you, and again, Jonathan Ford from like Unwed Sailor and a bunch of other guys. And it's really cool to sit down and just go, okay, I got no excuse. I'm not going anywhere right now. I'm focusing on what I'm going to do, and let's just do it. And
right.
So, yeah, it's just kind of cool to see what's been coming out of all these bands lately. Again, like the to me, I don't know their process, but to see Brand of Sacrifice and their new album Lifeblood is just freaking phenomenal. And it's like, if that's what they did at home, I hope they stay home more often.
Yeah, right. It's a bummer that the industry is kind of gone the way it has, in the sense that like artists really aren't making a living if they aren't on the road.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it sounds messed up, but in a lot of ways, it's been great for the labels, because all their artists are home working on music, putting music out.
Yeah.
It sucks for the artists, but I will say it's cool seeing. I love the return of the live DVD, quote unquote. Like, we're getting all these live stream concerts from all these different bands who are doing 1 or 2 day live stream events.
Yeah.
Which we weren't getting a lot of that. And as someone who grew up on, I had a shelf full of music DVDs of these live concerts, big production. Like, it's so cool. I swear every other week there's a new stream I'm buying a $10 ticket for. And I'm like, that's awesome. So I love that bands are being more creative with how they are not only making their living, but still able to create and bring us stuff. And we're going to get a lot of killer records. Like, the next 12, 18 months of releases are going to be stellar, I'm sure. Like, yeah. Everyone's making an album right now. Bands who put out an album in March are already working on another album, because they said, what else are we doing?
Yeah, right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. I feel really bad for some of these bands who like put out a big record right before the pandemic, and they never got a tour on it, and never got to sort of see, capitalize on that. But like you said, it's sort of, you got to take the good with the bad and make do with what you got, kind of thing. And it's been cool seeing how the industry has sort of tried to adapt to the circumstances of the last year. A band I really love, Dance Gavin Dance. It's kind of a joke with them, like how often it feels like they're in the studio putting out music. Yeah. For the last 10 years, it feels like they're always, if they're not doing a studio record, they're doing a live album, and it feels like every 12 months they're back in the studio. And some people, it's like, I know the traditional model is 2 to 3 years. You do an album, you tour it to death, you do a new album, repeat.
Yeah.
But as I'm sort of experiencing a lot of this for the first time myself, because all the bands I've played in, we've only put out little EPs, 3 songs here, 5 songs there, maybe a single This is the first time doing an album, which it's sort of a whole different beast. Like the way you have to think about how this is going to be compiled and released. It's a very different sort of thing.
Yeah.
But now I see why like bands like Dance Gavin Dance. I'm like, oh, I'm already ready to like be working on the next 10 songs. You know, like this isn't even done yet. I'm like, all right, let's get to the next thing. What's next for us? You know?
That's what we're going through right now too.
Yeah,
because this is the first time we've worked on a full length, and we had like the last 2 songs, and we're just kind of finishing things up, and then Aaron, the other gentleman, he came up with this really cool riff and this cool idea for the song, and then it just started like coming all together. And it's like, oh crap, another one.
Is it too late to use that? Can we just put a pause in the album and add this in there? Yeah, it's
he goes, we could do it.
Yeah.
Well, don't you want to just release what we have? I mean, come on.
Right. Yeah, and the next thing, if it were up to me, like we would just have like 30 songs and no one would ever hear them, right? They would just keep stacking. I'd be like, no, we'll get there, I promise. But
a year and a half later, 3 years later.
That's how it feels. I mean, we had our last Tuesday, we had our last studio session. And sessions have been difficult because of COVID and everything. Like it's been we've been able to go to the studio much less often than we normally would have. Mm-hmm. And it's got its own complications. Like luckily the tracking room is separate from the control room and everyone can kind of be separated. It's all good. Right. Yeah. But it has definitely complicated things for us. So the last few songs, the studio days have been really stretched out where it'll be like drums will happen one day and we don't get back in for 6 weeks to like, you know, to finish the song or whatever we're working on. But anyway, we had our last studio day for the record last Tuesday, which was coincidentally 2 years to the date since our very first studio day, where we did our debut song "Paranoid" with our buddy Jamie Curry. Dude, it feels like 6 months ago maybe, and we were sitting there, and I had like the Facebook memory pop up on my phone. And I was like, it's been 2 years since we started this, you know, and it's gonna be another at least 6 months before the album's out.
Oh my
and I'm
gosh.
Like, that's crazy. I mean, time is just flying by, and yeah, it's been like I said, my brain is mush, man. But I'm like, let's do what's next? What's next? You know, let's just jump into it. So
it's such a weird thing to be. Everybody's all screwed up with this whole timing, especially from the pandemic. It's just so funny to see how screwed up it just kind of messed everybody's brain and timing and stuff. And it's like you said, there's some stuff I go on and I'll see on Facebook memory and go, wow, the album release was 1.5 years ago. Holy crap, man.
Right.
And it's like we have songs that have been sitting for over a year, and it's like, wow, has it been that long too? And it's like, holy cow. And in that time, it's like we're kind of not even really like that kind of style anymore, because we're kind of developing our sound still. So some of it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, there's that. But at the same time, it's still good. It just, you know, how funny how you kind of develop everything. And you guys seem like you have for as many different singers you have a pretty set sound. Was that kind of the idea, or you guys wanted to kind of mess around with genres?
Yeah, so that is a very good question. It is, and it's a hard question to answer because everything. So we did Paranoid, and then we did our song Hollow Heart with Andrew Serino, and we did Impermanence with Malia Endres, and we didn't know what the direction was. Like we just said, let's just make some stuff we like. We knew going into it that because we were going to be bringing in a bunch of our friends that we could push the genre a little bit in a few different directions that maybe you wouldn't normally do. Yeah. And try to fit what each singer does really well, instead of trying to force them into something that, you know, that we want strictly. We want to kind of collaborate with them. We want to do what they do well. And so that's something we've always thought about, but we are very aware, or try to be anyway, of what our sound is, identifying like kind of what the things are that make up an 09 song, and how do we, without repeating too much or doing anything that's too getting too stale or whatever, like what are those things and how do we bring those in some form to every song, so that when you listen to an album 12 songs front to back with a different singer on every song, how how cohesive can that really be? So we are aware of that, and we have tried to sort of, like I said, we identified those things. What are the staples to our sound here, and how do we bring that across everything? And there's sort of a balancing act of, like, do we want this to sound like a Kellen Quinn song, or do we want to sound like Kellen Quinn singing an 09 song, right? And there's a distinction there, right?
Yeah.
And there, it's a balancing act, because you don't want a singer to come in and do anything that feels disingenuous. And we have had that. We've had a few singers who didn't work out on the record.
Oh, okay.
That we had pursued something with, and talented people, and some people that I hope to collaborate with in the future. But our thing is we want it to feel organic, and sometimes we're writing everything, and a singer is just coming in and kind of singing what we wrote. And sometimes that works out awesomely. Like Matty, he came in and he transformed like what we wrote. Right? He took the demo that we put out, all vocally, everything, and he transformed it into something I didn't even think. I was like, this is a different song, even though it's literally the same thing. And there were some singers who it didn't feel right, and so we had to go in another direction. And so that's a hard thing to sort of balance. Is
it seems like it, yeah.
Are you singing our song? Or are you just doing a cover of our song, if that makes sense? Or are you making it your own? And there's no formula to it, man. Like I said, it's been a whirlwind, and I'm really excited with how things have come together, and I'm stoked for people to hear the songs. But some days you wake up and you're like, does this work the way we want it to work? But so far so good, I think. So yeah.
Did you have any songs where well, for your, when you would send these to, when you're looking for somebody, a particular singer, do you or is it
Chancellor, yeah.
Chancellor. Do you or Chancellor just kind of like give like a brief melody and sing along, and then kind of have, whoever's going to sing it kind of, you're just giving them the skin and bones of it, and then they're just let them be creative and try to come up with it themselves, like kind of like sort of mesh it into their own kind of recipe? Or do you like kind of sit and go, well, this is kind of exactly what we're looking for, so if you can kind of just nail it like this? Or I mean, how do you work with that as far as the melody and stuff?
So that's a good question. It's different for every singer. Early on, it was very much a collaboration, where we, with Jamie, the first song we did, we brought him the bones of a song, no melody, and we just sort of, and I kick off the lyrical content for everything. So with him, I came to him with like, this is what I want the song to be about. Here's some lyrics I wrote, but like, run with it and see what you come up with. And then we'll take, like, we had a chorus idea and a verse, and so we take it to the studio, and then we all work on it together with our producer, Justin Abel, and so that's how we wrote some of the early songs. With Malia, we actually, the first time we met her, and we talked about what the project was going to be and what we wanted, we said, hey, come to us with a chord progression, just like 3 or 4 chords that you really like, that you want to play with. And she literally came with just just basic 4 chords, and she's super talented. She plays guitar in her band Glacier Veins, and sings. But she just brought us 4 chords, and Chance and I ran with it, and that helped sort of make things even more natural for her. As we got further along and we started sort of defining our sound and defining what we wanted out of it. Like for Masquerade with Matty, we actually pitched him several songs. We actually wrote a different song thinking this would be perfect for him. And we pitched him a few songs, and he ended up really digging Masquerade, and so that's the one we went with. And which he just killed that song. He fit so perfectly. And seeing how he took it, and maybe one day we'll release a B-side of the original version of Masquerade, where
that'd be cool.
Chance and I actually sang that version.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're not singers. It was sort of a fun it was sort of a fun little thing for us. And like,
Yeah.
we're not singers, but it was cool. So needless to say, we are glad Matty ended up on that song, and taking it to the next level. But yeah, as we kind of went along, I would say it's half and half. We have several songs that we really dialed in with Justin, and you know, wrote all the lyrics and got all the melodies buttoned up and had a really polished demo to send to people and say, this is our song, we want you to sing it. And every singer sort of brings their own flavor to it and changes things around. With Kellen, he co-wrote with us. We actually didn't send him anything. We just hit him up and said, hey man, here's who we are, this is what we do, this is who we're working with right now, do you want to do it? And we said, we can send you our demos or we can write something new. And I think in a span of, I mean, it was like less than a week, we had an emergency session with our producer. We're all on Zoom, we have our guitars plugged in, going through, and we're sitting here trying to come up with a demo to send him to start cooking on with, and it worked out really well. And it's one of the coolest songs on the record. Corey from Norma Jean, he co-wrote with us, and that song's killer. So yeah, it just has depended on the situation. The more we go along, I think my preference, if we were to kind of continue doing this, is to co-write with people.
Yeah,
I think that's just, I think it's just a more honest like expression of like what the band's ethos is, I guess. Like that's kind of the whole point of what we're doing. So
plus there's always a connection. There's always more of a connection too when it's like a in-person thing. It really is something to a difference of coming up with an idea, recording it, sending it to somebody, because then you can feel the song. I mean, everybody kind of does that, but when you're in a room, there's a real thing when it clicks and you kind of feel in the vibe. Like, and again, I'm using my band as an example, but when Aaron and I kind of throw ideas back and forth, it's fun and it's really cool. But the first time we actually kind of really just sat down and then worked on a song was the song that was our first single, and it did really well. It was that vibe of feeling each other out, getting a beat going, sing, even sounding horrible, but just kind of trying to put up a really cool melody while you're doing a guitar riff. And it's just so funny what the energy that comes from that, as opposed to just listening to something and going off of that. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are going to be collaborating with more people, I mean, I think that's a really, like you were saying, like an organic way to go to kind of bring that energy, bring some real good inventive creativeness to the songs like that. Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
It's not the most practical thing in the world, right? But it's worked out really well. The guys we've co-written with, it's worked out really well. And not to disparage the guys who came in and sang our stuff or disparage those songs, because those songs are awesome and I love them to death. And there's something sort of uniquely rewarding about like Cove Reber, formerly of Seosin. Seosin was one of my favorite bands for so many years. And to be like, dude, Cove is singing our song. What? What?
Right.
That's like, yeah, I mean, it's right. It's crazy. And so, and luckily, or maybe not so luckily, depending on if you're on the receiving end of this, but, I tend to just information dump. I'll be like, here's the lyrics. Here's like 3 paragraphs about what the song is about. Here's the demo with the melody, and here are the stems, and it's just like information overload. And so I think that's helped a lot of singers like connect with what the song's about, instead of just like, here, go sing this exactly the way we did it. It's like, here's what it's about. Here's not just like tonally as far as the narrative of the lyrics or whatever the lyrics are about, but also like sonically, like what do we want this to feel like? Because these are just demo vocals on here, right? And I think that helps guys take it and say, okay, I see what you're going for here, and I can connect with this. And so, like I said earlier, the difference between some of the guys who are on the record taking those songs, making them their own, and really doing something with them we didn't think would happen when we sent them the demo, versus some of the guys who silently, unfortunately, kind of got cut from the record because it was, okay, it sounds like you're just doing a cover of our demo, and there's no heart in it, And so I don't know. We work with so many people on this record. They might all have something different to say. They might come in and say, these guys are schmucks. I'll never do it again. But everything we got from these guys felt genuine and we love the songs. I mean, yeah, love them.
That's some good. I mean, that's some really great. Just even the ones that you already have. Some of these people I've never heard of before, and when I heard the songs, I was very impressed and was like, okay, who's this part of? What band are they with? And it's like, I can check them out. So, but yeah, I'll have to make note of that because I can't remember things for the life of me sometimes. But yeah, I actually, if you don't mind, I actually like to go back a little bit and see where, like, what was like your influences growing up? Like, what got you the juice flowing? And when like, I got to grab a guitar, or I got to play drums, or I got to, you know, whatever. What kind of got you going?
All right, I tell the story to friends, and have for years, but. And
Sorry.
It's kind of, no. It's kind of funny because people give me crap for it, but I am an unapologetic Kiss fan. I don't think you can see. No, you can't see just off screen here. My dad, I grew up on like the, a bunch of 80s rock and metal, and my dad's favorite band was Kiss. So I grew up on a lot of Kiss in the house. Kiss was my first concert ever. I was 11, I want to say, 6th grade. Yeah, and something about, the makeup, spitting blood, shooting fire, the fireworks, the smoking guitar. Like when you're a kid, and my dad's always listening to music, and I'm, I want to be a rock star, right? That's always what it is. You see the guys on stage, and you want that. And then seeing it live, I saw Kiss and Rush. How's that for two different ends of the spectrum? Like 6 days apart from each other. I was 11.
Oh, really? Holy macaroni.
Yeah. And Kiss, it's all the spectacle, right? And it's the rock star, and then I saw Rush a week later, and dude, seeing Neil Peart and oh my god. Oh yeah, I mean, right. They're up there, and then don't get me wrong, they put on a spectacle too. It was a really cool show, but like, yeah, seeing Neil Peart live was, because before this, growing up, my dad had guitars. I always played around. When I was 6, he got me one of those little miniature Squires or whatever. I took lessons I was so young. I took lessons for a little bit, and it didn't really take to it. Yeah. And then it was after, I was probably 10 or so. My dad got a drum set. And then after a year later or so, seeing those shows kind of lit a fire under me, and I just started jamming, man. And by the time high school came around, I had quit playing basketball. Like I'd played basketball my whole life, and I kind of transitioned from sports to music and found some guys to jam with, and never took a lesson, just jammed and
really? Wow, just kind of came natural to you, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough that my parents gave me an avenue to pursue that. They would let my bonehead friends come over and stay the night. My mom would be driving us back and forth, so we could have band practice every weekend and whatever.
That's
but we were really lucky, dude, to come up in Portland. Had a really interesting scene from like 2004 or 5 to like 2010. We had a really lively local scene. We had a lot of venues. We had a lot of venues come and go, but we had a couple of staples who were always around, and we had a really great community. A lot of awesome bands that some of them took off and did their thing, but we were lucky to kind of catch the last couple of years of that. And not everyone is lucky enough to have a community like that, especially with a genre of music that they had already connected with so heavily.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really lucky that that was the case, but. Yeah, Chance, and that was Chance and I all through high school, just playing shows and being dumb kids and making bad music. And
well, what kind of music? What was your first like style? What was it? Just kind of grunge? Was it just punk? What, any particular style? Just cover songs, or what did you guys end up doing?
I never did play in a cover band. I never went that route.
Same here.
Yeah, it's not to like put that down. Like. No. Those are the guys who are going out and actually making a few bucks every night, is playing at the bar, playing their AC/DC covers. But technically, my first band, my first band where we actually all had instruments and played music, right?
Oh yeah.
Because my first band, we were not really a band. It was like the early MySpace days, and we all wanted to look cool, kind of thing. But like, only one of us played music, you know. My first real band, I was 14, and we were just like really bad thrash metal, I guess.
Oh really?
Yeah. I mean, never recorded a lick in our lives. You know, we had like a little tape recorder we would put in the center of the room to try and like catch these, you know, live sessions or whatever. You know, but that transitioned pretty quick. Chance and I got together. We started playing a lot of the like post-hardcore, sort of screamo stuff.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, really big in that, you know, 2006, 7, 8 era. Yeah, so we had some bands like A Hope for Home, Dear Whoever, Upon Beauty. Some of these guys that you've probably never heard of, but
no,
like the guys in the scene at the time, you know. And so yeah, it was cool. It was cool. And that turned into like, you can see kind of back here somewhere, right there. That was the band I played in after Chance and I kind of went off and did our own thing, and he kind of pursued like pop rock, like very like, you know, fun and sort of dancey stuff. And
okay.
I kind of went further down the screamo rabbit hole, and you know, so yeah, it was fun. And that's kind of what 09's all about. I know it sounds funny because people assume 09 like we're trying to like, I don't know, recapture like the magic of something, but it was really more about like, you know, by 2009, Chance and I weren't even playing in the same band, but it was very much like the most important year, like for us as friends, you know, and musically playing with our own bands and kind of growing up. Like we were 17 at the time, you know, very important to us. And when we kind of set out to do the 09 thing, we said we want it to be its own thing, and we want it to make sense in 2019 at the time, right? But we want to take that energy and that passion from 09 that sort of got us to where we are today. We want that to sort of be our ethos, right? Our through line through why we're doing this and how we're doing it. And sort of a time when music was the only thing that was like good, you know, in our lives and sort of driving us. Let's sort of honor that while doing something new in a time where life is a lot different, you know?
Yeah.
We're not just running around playing shows and, I don't know, drinking beers and being stupid, you know? We're adults with lives, and but we didn't, you know, we still have this passion that we want to follow through on. So.
Oh yeah. Well, did you have any intention when you guys finally got together and started playing and stuff? Did you have any intention of like touring, or was it just to be kind of like a recording band?
Pretty much, we just want to be a recording band, you know. I mean, the pandemic sort of drastically changed things for both of us, but at the time, we were both pretty locked into our careers, and I think I decided pretty early on that I didn't ever really want to tour. I'm getting a little too old for that. You know, we did the playing the shows thing up and down the West Coast when we were kids, and you know, it's crazy. Like you have to have a certain like level of tolerance for BS that I just don't have to be out of my comfort zone, like in perpetuity. Just like I don't know if it's for me. It really was just like, hey, you know, so I was coming off of a record an EP with another band that I was playing with, and we had actually hired Chance to play lead guitar on it, because it was just another 2-piece thing. Mm-hmm. We brought in a buddy to play bass, and we needed someone to play guitar on it. And you know, Chance and I hadn't really kept up too much. You know, I mean, he got married, you know, like, I don't know, 2013, and kind of did his thing. I moved a few hours south. You know, life happens, right? Yeah, so we hadn't really stayed connected. But I said, you know what? Let me call my buddy. He's a phenomenal guitar player. Let's bring him in. Yeah. I call him up. It happens. We hire him to do it, and him and I end up writing like 6 songs in like 6 weeks. We just sit down and we get together every weekend and we just crunch out some songs, and we're like, dude, this is why don't we do this again? You know, like but for us, right? Like,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we were kind of doing this project for this other guy's, it was his thing. I said, let's just do this, man, for us. And that was why we decided to do the multiple singer things, is because we said, well, we don't really want to be a band.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we don't want to tour. We just want to make some tunes again and have fun. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
You know, I think if we had thought about it and thought about where we were going to end up going in the next 2 years, we would have done a few things differently.
Yeah.
But you know, you live and you learn, man. Here we are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Holy cow, man. Wow, that's cool. What did you ever think you'd be, when you guys set out for doing separate singers, did you have like, well, for instance, what's your, like, I don't know, do you have like an ultimate singer that you haven't had yet on your thing, on your recordings, or did it already happen?
Yeah.
I'm sure you got multiple.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, I've got we probably after our third single, we started thinking about like, well, if we're doing this, we got to start doing it right, you know?
Yeah.
And that didn't necessarily mean like we need bigger, quote unquote, bigger and better names. It wasn't about that.
No.
We were just thinking, who fits
the
style, who fits the vibe, who do we know, who do our friends know? And then we, off to the side, we kind of made let's make like the dream list, you know?
Yes. That was going to be one of my questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a lot of guys on that list that I would just adore working with. One of my favorite bands ever, probably, ask me on a good day, probably my favorite band ever is Coheed and Cambria.
I can tell right there. Yeah.
I've been a Coheed fan, you know, for as long as I can remember. I would love to do something with Claudia Sanchez. That'd be crazy. I don't even know how you go about making that kind of thing happen, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
It's sort of my pie in the sky. Like, let's Claudia, if you're listening, you call me, bro. But there are a lot of guys. We're huge Thrice fans. We love Thrice.
Oh, yeah.
Doing something with Dustin Kensrud would be really cool.
Dude, I think he would be so great with your guys' sound. Holy crap, man. He would.
You know, it was funny. The original version of Masquerade, when we were singing it, I think that was our number one influence. Like, as far as our voices, and especially Chance's voice, we're like, how Thricey can this be? Like aim for that, you know, when you're in the booth. And so that would be cool. Yeah, there's a whole list, man. Tillian Pearson from Dance Gavin Dance would be awesome. He's crazy. Sam Carter from Architects.
Oh, sweet God, yes.
Yeah, dude, that guy. I mean, he rips, man. He just rips. We just finished a song with Donovan Malero from Hail the Sun, Nova Charisma.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah, he was one of those guys where, like, maybe back in 2014, 15, I got really into his stuff.
Okay.
And he was one of those guys where for like months, we were trying to do something with him, and you kind of reach out and nothing happened. And then literally we are 3 weeks at the time, 3 weeks from the end of this record. And we have one song left where we're like, we need a singer. And it happened last minute. And I was like,
holy cow.
You know, not kind of knocking one of those names off the list of like a guy I just adore. And it worked out. So very, very thankful for that. So
you got like a doable list right here, and then you got dream list over here. And you're like, oh,
yeah, pretty much. It's right. It's like, you never know. You catch someone on the right day, you get in their email or their Instagram DMs, or like I said, we have mutual buddies and got a hold of some of these guys, and we're lucky it worked out the way it did. I mean, 12 singers, 12 songs, dude, that's
a lot of people.
I don't know if I would have done it, like, knowing what I know now. 2 years ago, I might not have done it. So it was probably a good thing that I had no freaking clue what we were getting into, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's cool, man. We're, I think at this point, the record will be done in a week. And then we're just full sail trying to get some music videos done. And we're hoping that we'll have a release like August or September.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Seems far away, but there's a lot to do between now and then. So, Yeah.
Well, it's funny being kind of sort of into this now. It's I realize how yeah, how much goes into all of this with music videos and
Yeah.
mixing and mastering and just finally, again, especially just doing my first full length album too. I didn't realize how much goes into this and why it takes so long sometimes, because scheduling is a huge thing, especially during the pandemic. It's been very difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really exciting to hear you guys got something coming up around that time. Do you know which song will probably be your first sort of single, or?
We have a list of songs that will be the singles. Kellen's song, Rory, Donovan's song. Those we're locked into those three as singles. We have another song. Our producer actually sang a song, which it's a killer song. We did a song with a gentleman by the name of Ben Willie from. He plays in a band called 6 Acre Earth. And his side project, I think, is called Days to Waste. He has a phenomenal voice. That song. Yeah, we're still trying to figure out the whole thing, but yeah, we kind of have a game plan. We have some stuff cooking as far as videos go, and hopefully it'll just be like snowball after the once it's all masters are locked, it's just downhill from there.
Yeah.
And to the finish line. So we did a Kickstarter in December, or an Indiegogo, which we thought was just the worst timing in the world. Like, we had the fires on the East Coast at the end of summer, and that it kind of pushed things back for us because everyone was all, it's all messed up.
Yeah.
And the pandemic pushed it back. Obviously, we were planning to do an Indiegogo at the end of or at the beginning of 2020. So anyway, we ended up doing that. Raised $11,000 to finish the record. So that was awesome. Never thought we would actually do that, during the pandemic and all this stuff. But that sort of adds another layer of complication to things, where it's we have Indiegogo perks, and we have promises we have now made to all of our backers who, we wouldn't have finished the album the way we did if not for that. Okay. So now we sort of have that commitment that we also have to uphold. So certain things kind of happen differently on the back end now because of that. Yeah. That makes it feel like we're never quite. I'm always playing catch up, trying to make sure things are where they need to be. But it'll be worth it in the end, man. It'll be cool. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, that's cool. That's very cool. That's exciting, man. I'm surprised it's still recording.
It picks and chooses when it wants to let you off the hook.
Apparently.
We did. I mean, most of our sessions this year have involved Zoom on some level.
Yeah.
Whether I'm patched into the producer or we're connected to a singer somewhere. It's a crapshoot. Sometimes you get that 39 minutes or whatever it is, 48 minutes.
Done.
Sometimes we'll go for 6 hours. And
sweet God.
Like, all right. It let us do it. We finally ended up. Yeah, we had to buy the plan or whatever, but yeah.
For 6 hour meetings. Yeah, that's
yeah,
it's not so much free anymore. Well, like you were saying, like reaching out to certain people. I just I'm to that point now. I'm like, why the heck not? Why not just ask somebody? And I listened. I forgot even how I ran into one of your songs, and I was like, holy crap, this is fantastic. And then I looked, and okay, I hopefully you don't take this the wrong way. I don't mean it's wrong at all. But when I went to your Spotify, and I looked, and you guys had only just over 700 listeners or followers or whatever it was. I was like, are you kidding me? How are you not? How can you don't have? Because there's so many good songs, and the talent you guys have is just fantastic. And I think that was kind of around the same time too, where I think it was just before Brand of Sacrifice was releasing some of their singles. And I remember going to theirs, and they had maybe, I think just under 2,000 followers or 2,000 listens or something like that. And then you look at them now, and they've blown up like crazy. Yeah. And so I'm hoping maybe that you guys, once this album comes out and some of these singles come out, that I'll see that 700 go way up. You guys deserve it, man. It's really good stuff.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that. Well, the back end of this whole it's all a game, right? You're trying to get on playlists, you're trying to get on radio shows, you're paying for ad space, and it's all a game, and it's like. It's stuff that I hate thinking about. I just want to make music and put it out, but we want to do the tunes justice, and so we're trying to do things slowly but surely and doing it the right way so that people hear it. But you know, at the end of the day, Chris Ratzla from Fallstar, he said this to me. He says, you know, everything I make, I expect nobody to hear.
Yeah.
So every person who hears it, that is just icing on the cake. Like the fact that I did this Indiegogo, I was able to make the album I wanted to make. I was able to manufacture and release it. That's all I want. You know, everything else is sort of a bonus. And for me, I feel the same way. I'm like, dude, I got to make 12 of the best songs I've ever been a part of with some of my best friends and some of my favorite singers ever. What more can you ask for, you know?
Yes, especially for someone who loves music. Because if you were into it, if you were in for it for more of the fame and more for notoriety and all that kind of stuff, I think you guys would definitely found a set singer maybe and done things a little bit differently. But I think you guys, it really shows that you're passionate for the music and your love for music, and to join with others who have that same passion and love. To me, that's huge. That's exactly what I wanted to start this for, was for people just like you who do that for the music and not for the stardom, not for notoriety, but just because you love music, you love creating music because it's in you, you know. And I love that kind of thing. So that's awesome, dude. That's great. I love that. So.
Hell yeah, yeah. That's I'm glad that, you know, I hope that's if anything, when this album comes out, that people take away is that, you know, obviously no one puts out an album not having worked hard on it, right? Like even bad albums had a lot of people working really hard to make that album.
Yeah, exactly.
But I hope that's the one thing that cuts through, is that like we love this, and it's the only reason we're doing it. It's the only reason that we, you know, have sort of continued to go down that rabbit hole, you know, despite it turning into I don't want to say burden's not the right word, but listen, making an album, it's not cheap.
No,
it's not cheap.
It's hard.
So yeah, I'm very grateful to have been able to see it through. So
yeah, well, I can't wait to hear it, man. But
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you for your time, man. I know it's been kind of brief with certain things, but I do appreciate any just the fact that you even responded. So this has been a real treat for me, and again, I really hope to hear what you guys got brewed up in the studio. So
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, and I love talking. I can talk anyone's head off. So as you found out, so I appreciate you having me on. And
good, I'll probably hit you up again.
yeah, feel free, man. I'm always down for this kind of thing. So yeah, dude, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, well, check out 09, and they've got what is it? You got 1, 2, have it right down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 5. I only saw 5 on Spotify. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's all we have released so far.
Okay.
Yeah,
the 6th one. I'm sorry.
So,
but yeah, check those out. Those are freaking awesome. Every single one of those is amazing. So, but yeah, man, thank you, EJ, for your time, and I wish you the best of luck, man. I'll talk to you later.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, right. Anytime, man. Anytime. So.
All right, man. You have a good night.
Dude, thank you, Scotty.
All right, man.